Um, well, this is not how I expected the first meeting to go as president of the league. Um, I knew Jimmy Irwin and Billy Kloss are really smart guys, but I didn't realize how smart they were by getting out of this, running this league, and then all this stuff has happened. Not only do we have the COVID to deal with, but we're doing a lot of changes as we're going to talk about tonight as far as the league structure goes. With Billy, and I would just want to thank those two again. The amount of years of work they put into this league was unbelievable, and those guys really made the league what it was. So we hope we can continue in the great path that they did. So I just wanted to talk about our board for just a quick second. We have 10 people on the board plus myself. We have Blake Anderson, Todd Anderson, Scott Aaronstein, Drew Broderick. I'm sorry, Dave Broderick, Vinnie Campbell, Dennis Cusack, Billy Dunn, Larry Fell, Andrew Haynes, Craig Marsden, and myself. Everyone's got specific roles that they do on our board. Those are posted on the website. Um, One of the changes we're doing this year is that Todd Anderson in the past was our referee and made with help of Jimmy made decisions on any questionable issues that came up. This year we're going to have a rotation. Well, not a rotation. We're going to have three people make these decisions. That's going to be Todd again, Dennis, and Craig Marsden. If one of those guys are conflicted, either myself or Dave will step in and hopefully resolve the issue. So that's our board. I think most of those people are on the call today. We also have the call as Amin Kadori. Amin is the CEO of the APTA and has been a great resource for us as we move from to Paddle Score's website. Amin has run the Boston League for many years and is so he knows what about running a league and has been very helpful to us. And I'm happy to have him on the call today, especially when people start asking questions about the website and PTI and other things. I'm sure I'll rely on him greatly. Just some things I already put in my emails. We plan to start the season on October 5th for the AB flights, Tuesday, October 6th for the CD and E, and Saturday, October 10th for the balance of the flights. The plan would be that we'll have play during the week of Thanksgiving. And the League Classic hopefully will be on December 12th. And that leads me into why I say hopefully, and hopefully it's because of COVID. Obviously, this has caused us great concern about our league and what we are going to do about it going for this season. Our plan is to go forward with our season. Our plan as board members is to set up the league. We'll set up the matches, and then it's up to each club, each team, to determine how they want to handle COVID at their respective clubs. So I know some clubs.
Sorry, Rob. Can we ask people to go on mute if they're not speaking?
Yep. Sorry, I thought I muted everybody. I guess when people join, it doesn't. Just keep on reminding me if you guys get noise. Let's see. It's really. I was saying about COVID. It's up to the clubs, not the NJMPTA, to determine how people are going to handle COVID. So if some clubs are loose and allow people to show up without mask or use the hut, that's up to the club and obviously the people attending. If some clubs are restrictive and you can only go right to the court and you got to leave right afterwards, that's it's perfectly fine with us. Our thing is we want to make sure, or hopefully, the matches get in this year. And so far, I've not heard from any clubs who are saying we're not playing. I mean, some individuals might just choose not to play, but I'm actually hearing that more people are interested in playing this year because they're not traveling. But as I said, from the board's point of view, we're going to leave it up to each of the clubs on how they handle the COVID procedures. We expect everybody to follow the state and CDC guidelines. But the only thing we do ask is when you register, and we'll talk about registration lately, when you register, there's a waiver. I know no one ever reads that stuff. I don't think I ever read one, but this one, there is talk about, recognizing that there is COVID, recognizing that it's there and that you accept the responsibility of. The only thing we do ask as from the board is that if you or you as captains, if a member of your team test positive, to let the other captain know if they played, the other captain within the last 14 days. Unless the person agrees to, there's no need to mention names. Just let them know that a person on the team has tested positive. I don't need to know. The board doesn't know, but to just keep that to the other captain. But we're asking that. I think it's good, good humanity to do that type of stuff and let people know about that. We plan on doing, because of everyone seems to be involved or wants to play this year, we're going to have a normal league as far as movements go. I know we're on one of the great things the APTA has done. We've had a number of calls this summer talking about a wide variety of things. We had a call the other day talking about what certain leagues around the country are doing. Some aren't doing movements. I think we're one of the few. I think that are continuing to do movements. I think we can do it. I think we're in good shape to do that. So we're going to have a normal season as far as that goes. A lot of things won't be normal. Just going back to the League Classic, I don't know what's going to happen then. That's in December. Every day something changes with respect to COVID. We might have it on, just the matches only. I know that's no fun. I know it's one of the best days of the year. Hopefully we can have it in some regards like we've done in the past, but we'll tackle that when we get there. But right now our plan is to have it, and it's going to be on Saturday, December 12th. If anybody has any questions as I go through this, I know I have hesitation. Sometimes I talk very fast. Please don't hesitate to interrupt me and ask any questions that you may have. So let's talk about the next big thing, Paddle Scores. Paddle Scores is a website. I've sent everybody the link. It's different than our old site. In a lot of ways, it's a lot better. In some ways, it's not as good. I know the team at Paddle Scores has been unbelievably helpful in trying to accommodate us. I think they're getting tired of New Jersey, between the Northern League, the women, and us, with all the questions and requests we have. Just a shout out to Andrew Haynes, who's done an amazing job of getting the website set up so it can be easily usable by everyone. There's still a lot more work to do. Still a lot of things we don't know, but we're hoping that the website is easy for everybody to use and provides the information that you all need. So what's different this year? Different this year. In the past, we allow people to register as a team. And it was up to that club to determine who was on their team, whether or not they were members. It was not up to us from the board's point of view. And that's still the same. The only difference is that we're asking that everybody individually register this year. We'll go through in a minute on how to register. It's pretty straightforward. If you've ever used the internet before, it should be pretty easy. You have to have it goes to a PayPal account. Even if you don't have a PayPal account, you can use your credit card to register. But the reason why we're doing it individually versus team is that PTI, so Platform Tennis Index, I think that's right, is a rating. It's sort of like a golf handicap. I sent you guys, everyone, a link to describes what the PTI is. And it's really, why we're having everyone individually register, is because it's just data integrity. We need everyone's names to be correct. You will not believe I don't think I'm overestimating here. I think we've spent over 100 hours, the board. And most importantly, a quick shout out to Rich Ryan from Noe Pond, who has been off the charts, unbelievable. If you ever see Rich, just thank him. He has done so much work. It's unbelievable, and he is so detail oriented. I don't know where we would be without him. So Rich, if you're on the call, thanks so much. But the data integrity is important, and why we need everyone to register is to make sure everyone's names are correct. We don't want, a Rob Scanoni, a Robert Scanoni, a Robert C. Scanoni. We don't want 3 different names in there. We need to make sure everything's consistent throughout. Yes, I know it's a pain for the clubs who just did it, just charged their members or registered on behalf of their members. But, I think it's going to work out well. I know Philadelphia, Chicago, with 3 times the amount of members that we have done it without any issues. Philly's about the same size of us. They did it without any issues. I know I know we can do it here in New Jersey. So it's different. I know it's different, but I ask for your patience and your help and support, especially as captains. I know you'll have those guys like, I don't want to do this, but if they want to play, they have to register. Now, there are a couple subjectivities to that, and we can talk about. But I really need everyone's help here as captains to make sure that they register. Everyone on this call registers right after this call. You can go online. You can do it. It'll take 3 minutes probably to do. And once you guys are set up as captains, it really helps us in filling out the rosters for everybody else. So we ask you to not only register right away, but to support us in making sure that your teams register as quickly as possible. And I'm starting this early. I mean, I think in the past we didn't have our meeting for a couple of weeks now, but we're doing everything now because of this change in the registration process. So we still have, what do we have, 6 weeks? So we do have plenty of time. Just a question someone asked me earlier today, the registration stays open. It doesn't close when the season starts. It stays open to the last day. So if you have somebody who wants to play a match and it's not registered on the last, the ninth match, they can go in and register. So the fee is $30. We pick up the PayPal charges because we're an entity, so there's charges that we pay for that. If a couple of things have been asked, well, what if one guy just plays one match? Well, register. There's 2 options there, and this is important. There's 2 options if someone just plays one match or only plays a few matches. They pay the $30 and we refund them the $30 when they request it from them. So if you play 3 or less matches, we will refund you the $30. But since most of the $30 goes to pay for the League Classic, you're not going to be able to play the League Classic if you ask for a refund or even attend, let's face it. If you have one guy the last minute who wants to play a match, doesn't want to go through all that, if you get the okay from the other captains, correct me if I'm wrong, if you get the okay from the other captains, you can still play the match, so it'll count for your standings, but you just put in an unknown player for that person who did not register. Is that the right term? Unknown player?
Or just leave it blank, and the match won't count towards anyone's PTI.
Right. So the other 3 people have to realize that if this person did not register, that match will not impact anyone's PTI, but it will still count for the league.
That's right.
So that's registering. And registering also, we've made it very easy if you're a member of the APTA to renew your membership, or if you want to join the APTA, you can do that. We are not requiring players to be members of the APTA, except if you want to play in the League Classic. Other leagues, it is normal for other leagues to require their players to become APTA members. We're not doing it this year. Next year we will. But the usual fee is $55, and through our website it's $35. So you get APTA is sort of like joining the USGA. You get all the information, you get a good magazine, but also they support the game. I'm sure everyone here has watched the live streaming. That's where that money goes to, and many other things that the APTA does. I don't want to get on a soapbox.
Also playing in tournaments, Rob. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, and obviously, if you play at APTA tournaments, then that's your fee already paid for. So, I think if you play in one tournament and you got to pay a one-time fee, it's like $30. $30?
I think that's right.
Yeah, so it's $30 for a one-time tournament. So it's $35 for the entire year. You get the magazines, and you get to feel good about supporting the game.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
This is Dave at Clearwater Swim Club. Question for you on the registration. I'm noticing that myself and a lot of the guys are listed under different clubs.
Right.
Should we just go ahead and register anyway?
When you register, it should be blank. Right now, I thought we blanked all that information out, but once you register and you select the club that you're a part of, that will be fixed.
Okay.
So I've gotten a couple of questions from people. How come everybody's at Brookside? Well, I just assumed that, we didn't have when we imported the data into Paddle Scores, we didn't connect the people with the clubs. So I think it's just defaulted to the first club being Brookside. So that's kind of screwed up. But once everyone registers, that will all be cleaned up. So, and David, just to build on that, so people are registering for a club, not a team. So when you go in, I registered the other day, I just registered as a Morris County member. And then it's up to your captains to say what team you're on. It's different than what other leagues do, but I think that works for our league very well. It just gives us more flexibility. I think that's it about registration. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, Andrew, is it possible for you to walk through how someone can register? Can you
Sure.
share your screen?
Let me find out.
Okay.
Share desktop.
There you go. Well done. So this is
can you see
our new screen. Wow, that's a lot of tabs open.
I'm very busy.
Just so everyone know, Andrew was the mastermind behind what we've done for the League Classic the last few years, where we did the online scoring, and last year was the great advancement of getting text messages when your match is played. That was all Andrew's work. So
it was a team effort. Team effort.
Yeah, he just told us what to do because we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Okay, so hopefully everyone has had the chance to see the new site. So yesterday I redirected the NJMPTA.org URL over to the new, I guess technically you'll see up top, it's njflex.tennisscores.com is the URL that that's hosted. Again, I mean, and the Paddle Scores, Tennis Scores team have been great in terms of helping us through this. Acknowledging that it is. It's different. It's very different from the Paddle Pro site that we've been using for the last God knows how many years, and it's been very. We're all comfortable with it. We're using it, so this is definitely a change, and we're trying to sort of understand how to map the old way that used to do it in Paddle Pro over to the new way that's happening now under Paddle Scores, and I've got a sort of a cheat sheet that I'm working on, but. You can go out there and we've set up the homepage. We can do news. Actually, one of the things that I want to also emphasize for why it's important to register is because a lot of the communication is going to be done through this site. So in this site, you'll have the ability as a captain to email your entire team, right? So you'll set up your roster from all the people in your club, and then you'll have the ability to email them directly from here based on the email addresses that they put into the system. So that's something I think that is going to be helpful for everybody, and also for Rob and the board to email out to everybody when we have something to communicate to everybody in the league.
Yeah, sorry to jump in, Andrew. That's a very, very good point. Last couple of years, we had a hard time contacting people, letting them know when the League Classic was taking place, or when anything was taking place. We relied on the captains, and sometimes that information didn't filter through. So now we can just send out a mass email to all the players, just letting them know of anything that's happening, specifically probably the League Classic, the most important thing. Thanks, Andrew.
Sure. So, one of the first things one of the things that Paddle Pro does very nicely is you can easily see the standings, and it's not as obvious here, but if you click on this full standings here, you'll see everybody. And again, it looks different, but this is basically every league, every division that we set up within the fall league, 10 teams per division, A through L, and then 9 in M. That are out there now, assuming we've got no changes. That's all in place. The next thing we're working on is the scheduling based on the number of the preferences that we have for each of the clubs. But next step is get everyone registered. So we've got this registration button here, and we've imported, I think, close to 4,000 players from the NJMPTA, and that included a lot of duplicates that we removed, but there's still well over, I think, 1,500 active players in here. So if you come in here and you type in, your name or partial name and it doesn't find it, then there's probably something wrong. So let me know. So, and if you don't have to type your full name, just do a partial and it'll do a search and find it. So I've already registered, but I'll walk you through the process. So there actually is apparently an Andrew Hain that played one match somewhere in New Jersey. That's not me. But then it's me, Bill, and Bob Copchains that all match on that search. Actually, no, that's Bill. He already registered. Sorry. So one of the things, and I mean, I'll let you chime in on this. One of the requests was, hey, if it already knows who I am, why doesn't it bring up all of my profile information? And this is like an open website, so we don't want to let you come in here, type in anybody's name, get their address, email, phone number. So this is all blank test. So you have to basically add it in. But if you, like me, are using Chrome, it's going to pre-fill all the information for your personal information. Select your club, Maplewood. There's a waiver here if you want to see it. Click on that. A lot of verbiage here, but important for us to get that, which is also another reason why we want everyone registering this year to at least acknowledge that waiver. Agree to that. Register. It's going to summarize the amount. It knows that I already paid my APTA membership, so it didn't ask me again. But for those of you that that are going through this the first time, you will have the option to enable your or re-up on your APTA membership. So $30, go to PayPal, and it's going to drop you into a PayPal page where you can sign in and pay it. So if you have a PayPal account, great, sign in. If you don't have a PayPal account, you can, as you see here, there's a link to pay with a debit or credit card. Just enter it like you would on any other e-commerce site, and you're done. So that's it. If you have a PayPal account, you really can go through this in less than a minute. So again, it's different from the way we've done it in the past, and we will need all the players to register because without registration, the players cannot be added to rosters or teams.
Andrew, thanks for that. Can you go back to the where you showed all the teams in the schedule? Not the schedule, just the layout of all the teams. So this is the setup of all the teams. So this is updated based on the results from last fall. As captains, I'm pretty sure we have it correct, but I'm sure we're going to miss some things. So I'd ask the people on this call, the captains on this call, to look at it and just make sure that if you did have a movement up or down, that you're in the correct spot. And if not, let me know as soon as possible. But I'm pretty sure it's right. But it doesn't hurt to have more sets of eyes on it. Okay. Any questions on the registration?
Rob, this is Rich Dajon from Hallworth. We typically, just correct me if I'm wrong, but typically we send money in for the league. Everybody, our treasurer collects it from each individual player, and then we send in one check. So I'm hearing right now that everyone has to do it individually, and we're not going to be sending in a check from the club itself. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. Thanks for clarifying that, Rich.
Okay.
Yeah. So each one.
Actually, Rich, you can still send a check in, though. We'll take that.
That's very nice of you, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah. So Rich, instead of that going that process where someone's got to collect it there, now each person's got to go on and individually register for the reason we mentioned before.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Okay.
Rob, will captains get notified?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Will
just a quick
captains
question,
be
Rob,
notified if someone registers on their team? It's sort of a chicken and egg there. No, because we have to, once somebody registers, the captains need to sporadically, I mean, I'm a little hesitant on this, or Andrew.
You know, I'll show this.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good. What happens is they don't get a notification because that person hasn't been assigned to a certain team within the club, but the captain will be able to go in sporadically, and Rich and Andrew will walk through this, how they can then move that person to a specific team.
Right. So right. Thanks. So right now I'm signed in as my brother Bill, who is a captain of a Maplewood team, and hey, I mean, does everyone have this white bar on the top, even if they're not an admin or have credentials?
Yes.
Okay, good. So everyone up here, there's links to archives or APTA and live scoring, all that stuff. You can also sign in if you are, all of you as captains will get an account, and you'll be set up as a captain for your club. And within that club, you can manage the teams. So if you click on this admin,
Andrew, just to interrupt you. When you say they'll get an account, once we assign them as captains, and then they have the access. Is that correct? There's nothing more that they need to do.
Well, what they would do is go to the homepage and do the first time login, and that would send them the link to reset their password and get in. Right? I mean.
That's right.
Yeah. So if you go to see up top, there's a home. If you go in there, there'll be a link to sign in first time. You put your email address in, and it'll email you the link to get your credentials.
And use the same email address you used to sign up.
Exactly. So so I'm signed in as my brother Bill right now, and you'll see it. I've got teams, player members, scores, and I can go in here to the team. And there are 5 Maplewood teams, and I can go into this third team, edit that, and you'll see there's my brother Bill and I are both in here as current members, and now it looks like Bob Enger has registered recently, so he's in here as an available club member. So as soon as your team members register for your club, they'll be in here. So across Maplewood, we've got about 85 players, I think. All 85, once they register, will show up on the available club members. And then, so I can move Bob into the Maplewood 3 team by clicking on that. And then, do I have to click update, Amin, or does it happen automatically?
No, you have to click update.
Right. And then click update. And then now I've got 3 people on my team. And as new members of my club register, they'll show up and I can kind of pull them in. There's no restriction. So Bob can be added into the 3 team, the 2 team, the 1 team, the 4 team. So players can be added into multiple teams optionally, so that there is room for movement up and down as needed. So they're not a player is not hardwired to a specific team. They're linked to the club.
But in order to record a score, do they have to be already added to that team?
Yes. But so let's say Bob fills in for the 1 team and he has not been added. So the captain of the 1 team would add him in and then post the score. Actually, it could be that it depends on how we use the system, and we can get into more detail if we want to. I think Amin is probably better at explaining this. The new platform can be used actually to help you schedule your matches, right? So you can send an email out to all of your team members and say, hey, we've got a match on Tuesday, and everyone can respond within the website as to their availability to play.
Yeah, if you go back a page, Andrew, yeah, go back one more time. Go to admin. So if you go to that team management link, that's the 3rd one down under functions, yeah. Mm-hmm. And click on that 3 team again. Or just, yeah, anyone, yeah.
View team page or
yeah,
message to players?
View team page. So over on the right, it says match availability request form.
Mm-hmm.
You click on that. There you can send an email out to everyone on your team, basically, and it'll go out with a sample message. If you click on that view sample message there, I'd like to know which matches are available for the season. Please take a few moments to fill out the form. What it will do is it'll send a link for everyone to go, and you can basically click on radio buttons to show each of the 9 matches, like whether they're available or not. And then once they do that, and you can add in close that out. You can add in the additional comments you want in there, obviously. Now go back. Go back 1 page. Who brings the beer?
Right.
Now if you go back to team management, you go to view team page again. Oops, sorry. Go back to team management.
Sorry,
go back. Go back to admin. And go back to that team management. Yeah, click on a view team page. And so once you sent that availability form out, now you can go and right on this page here would be everyone's availability. You see a green check mark by everyone by week who's available, and red X if they're not. And then you can use that top link there, view, edit your lineup. You can make your lineups right there in the site here, and send them out to everyone who's in the roster or everyone on the team. So that can be all done through the website. So getting their availability, making the lineup, sending the lineup out with messages in it, you can all do that right here.
So that's definitely an option we have. We still do the old-fashioned way we used to do it, just by emails out. So but if you do it the way it means talking, and Andrew talking about, when you go to enter the scores, your teams are already listed, so there's no extra work for you to do. Or if you're already pre-populated your names, the other captain, when they go to see scores, your team members are already there, so that saves a lot of issues.
Yep.
And just talk about score and entering the scores. I know in the past people kind of relaxed about scores. It didn't really matter. Scores matter, and we'll talk about PTI in a minute. Scores matter for PTI going forward. So let's make sure as captains we put in the actual score which took place. If it's 6-0-6-0, put in 6-0-6-0. If it's 7-6-6-7-7-6, put in that. So let's try and be as accurate as possible. It's shit in, shit out type of things as far as this data goes. But there's a lot of, this website to me is very, very good. There's a lot of things we can do, but we don't have to do them all. And this is an example of it. I think this makes it a lot easier for leagues around the country that use this, but we don't have to do this going forward. But it is a nice option, and it could make your life easier as captains, which we would all appreciate.
Hey, one question that I had earlier that someone asked me and I didn't have the answer to. I mean, how many leagues that you know of currently are running off of this site?
It would be easier to say which ones aren't.
I was going to say, can I share my screen with you guys?
Sure.
You should be able to.
I'll turn mine off.
There's a little arrow button on monitor.
Share tray? What is it? Share screen share?
There's a share content link up
Yeah.
on the top right next to leave.
Hit Control-Shift-E maybe.
So I'm not figuring this out. My first time on this one. Pretty much every league in the country except for Westchester County, men and women, and DC will be on. So it's pretty much Westchester County men and women.
Yeah.
The only league in the country.
And the reason why Westchester's not in there is the person who runs that league also runs the Paddle Pro website, the other website that we used to use.
Right.
So.
Chicago, Pittsburgh, Philly, Long Island, Cincinnati, Cleveland's moving on it. Baltimore, Charlotte, Denver are all on. Boston, Fairfield County.
Okay.
Right. So I guess the point there was that, when I first saw this, I'm like, wow, this is really different. I don't like this. And then, honestly, but then the more time I spend in it, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of functionality in here. It's very feature rich. But it's different, right? So it's change. But as soon as after talking to Amin and understanding it, it all kind of makes sense to me. So there is some getting used to it. But if this is used for the majority of the paddle leagues in the country, then I'm sure it'll be great for us.
So that's the website. As you go through it, I'm sure you'll have more questions about it. Shoot them to me or to Andrew, and we'll try and get them addressed. Andrew, like he said, is working on a cheat sheet. We worked today on just clarifying the one for the registration. I'll send that out after this call to the email distribution list I used earlier today, and then we'll send out another one with adding players to rosters. Entering scores and all that other stuff. We got some more time with that. The key part for going forward is to make sure the captains register as soon as possible, so we can start filling up the teams. So that's the website.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing is that the PayPal, you'll get a confirmation from League Classic Scores at gmail.com, and then it'll tell you that you've paid Jimmy Irwin. So. That's intentional.
We can't let Jimmy go.
Right.
All right. So the main reason we're doing this big change to Paddle Scores website is because of the PTI and what that means. I think there's been some talk about it late last year about PTI, and I know people have a lot of questions about it and what's the main reason it means on this call. he started the PTI when he was in Boston, and then there was with a few other people, and then it was now the APTAs embraced it, and it's used throughout the country. And the PTI is like, like I said before, it's like your golf handicap. It's based on an algorithm, and determines based on who you're playing with and who you're playing against. If you win or lose has something to do with it. And the scores of your match determine whether or not you're moving up or down. We were fortunate that we were able to export. We exported all the data for the last 20 years from our old site into Paddle Scores. But for PTI purposes, we've used the last 5 years of data to determine what your PTI ranking is. So, I've already gotten calls from people, oh, my PTI is too low or too high. It is, the rating is built on a lot of data. Now, if you've only played a handful of matches, I don't know, less than probably 10, it's still got a ways to go to figure out your final rating. We did a lot of cleanup as far as people's ratings goes. If they move too much or if they move too much up or down, we amended their start rating. And basically everyone was given a start rating based on the first match they played in our league. And so if you started in A1, you were started with a 6. If you started in L4, you started with a 50 rating. And we based everybody on that and ran through the matches. And every match you played that's in the NJMPTA is in our system. If you played any APTA matches, that goes into it. If you played any of the Chatham Cup or Hans's League, anything that had to do with anything that went into Paddle Scores, those matches go into your history and have developed your PTI. Over this year, we'll refine it even more with more matches being played, but there's a lot of data already there that it's been used to calculate your PTI number. I know that the PTI is great. I know people have a lot of questions about it, but the PTI is great in the sense that the APTA has done a great job of using these numbers to now have a lot of tournaments. So if you have a rating of 10 or less, you play in this tournament. If you're 10 to 20, 20 to 30, you can play in other type of tournaments. I know other people are talking about having, because of COVID, smaller tournaments based on your rating. So if you're 15 to 20, you can go and play in these tournaments. So it really, it gives you the ability to have these little tournaments or big tournaments based on what your rating is. I know it's not. I know once people get in there, like I said, we spend over 100 hours cleaning this data up, but I know it's not 100% correct, but it's pretty close. I think I said in one of my notes, if the score is off by a couple of games, don't tell me about that. But if you're missing like 20 year scores, let us know and we'll look into that. Hopefully everyone says, okay, that kind of makes sense, my rating, and as comparison to other people. You can see everybody else's rating too. Just as a precaution, we're not requiring people this year to be members of the APTA. Next year, if you want to see your PTI, you'll need to be a member of the APTA. One thing that we're working on, we've asked Amin and the Paddle Scores team, is to give better insight into the history of people's matches. I know that's still in the works. There is something behind the scenes which shows you every match you played, who your partner was, what their rating was, what your rating was, what your opponent's ratings was, and actually how, it doesn't give you the algorithm, but it tells you how you move based on the result of that match. And once you look at that, you can sort of say, okay, that makes sense, it makes sense type of thing. I think once we have the ability to show that to people, that will answer a lot of our questions. Any time frame on when that might be available to everybody?
Hopefully before your first match of the season. So October 1st is what I'm hoping for.
That'd be great. In a nutshell, that's PTI. So a couple of things. So what are we going to do about PTI this year? It's great for all the reasons I just stated, but it's also good to develop your lineups. You know exactly where people are from a rating perspective. Now, from our board's position is it's not a rule. Please use as a guide, and note that there is some variance of people's ratings. About 2 to 3 points per player is the variance of plus or minus. So if you are playing a match, and your combined rating with you and your partner is, I don't know, 45, and you're playing on court 2 and court 1's got a rating of 50. Hey, what's going on there? You know, that's within the variance there. They're basically the same teams playing each other. So let's not have any, hopefully not any issues like that. But if some teams are 40 and they're playing court 2 and the other team is a 60 playing court 1, you know, raise that up. The captains, what I'm asking you as captains, if you have a situation like that, please let the other captain know why you're doing something like that. You know, don't be that guy type of thing. So we're not going to say, so if someone's a 42 playing court 2, you know, and someone's a 45 playing court 1, that's perfectly fine. When it becomes greater, then it's more of an issue. So that's why when I said before in my emails, we're using it as a guide, not a rule. That's what I meant by that, because of the variances in the algorithm. But it should give you a pretty good guide, who your opponents are, you know, what their ratings are, and also help develop your own teams. I know this is a big change for a lot of people. I think most of the people I talk to are positive about it. Hopefully everyone is, but we're happy to, I guess I'm happy to answer questions about it, because I know hopefully there's going to be a lot of questions. So anybody have any questions about PTI and how it works, how it's developed? You know, now's your time to ask. And as captains, hopefully you do ask questions, or if you already know all about it, that's great, because you're helping us represent this to the rest of your members. So
Rob, just a quick question. This is Bill Haynes.
Yep.
So the expectation is that you're going to play your lowest ranked PTI team as the #1 court on the day scheduled, and as it kind of cascades down 3 or 4 teams every week, right?
Yeah, you kind of went out there, but that's the idea. So the lowest being the you know, like a golf handicap, lower is better, and you work your way up to higher. Sorry.
Hi, Rob. It's
Right,
Paul from the Mipple up in northern Jersey.
Hey, Paul.
I just wanted to let everyone know that not only do the NJMPTA matches and the APTA matches include in their PTI calculation, but also if they played in our league, the Mipple League, those are also in the calculation of their PTI.
Yep. Any match you play. So in you know, the Chatham Cup League, any league you play that deals with paddle scores, those matches will count towards your PTI. But I wasn't sure who asked that other question before, but that's the idea. You put your lowest team up first, and then you work your way up to your highest team. Now, you know, it's such a weird year we have this year. One of the things we talked about, this sort of coincides what we're talking about, was one of the beauties of the past of our league was that we wanted everyone to play matches, and we allowed flexibility on when the matches could be played. You know, and some people abuse that. And it, you know, caused a lot of issues, caused a lot of emails. I mean, all the other leagues throughout the country, if I'm not wrong, I mean, they play Thursday night, 8 o'clock, period. That's it. There's no other date, no other time. That's it. When they went on the summit call and I was telling them what we did in New Jersey, we thought we were crazy, and we are crazy by allowing them to do what we do. But we only have 9 matches. We're not a full season like the other ones who play 17 matches. So every match is important, but let's work hard this year to make sure we play matches the date they're supposed to be played. You know, I don't know what I mean by that, or what I can do to enforce that, or what the board can do to enforce that. But people are manipulating the system too much, and it's gotten out of control. And a lot of people want to play, you know, Saturday mornings, 8:30 period, going forward, because it's just too much work. You know, I can't say we should do that yet. We're close to doing that. So I know COVID throws everything up in the air a little bit this year, but let's work hard as captains to get matches in. If one guy's missing, don't worry about it. It'll all even out. Another time, another team will have one that, you know, similar guy missing, and the results won't be, you know, well, they'll all even out. So let's work hard this year. You know, no, I don't think anybody's going to be traveling. So hopefully we have a lot less issues this year, but with the PTI, using that to develop your lines, let's try and get the matches in on time and save You know, I was a captain for many years. I know I spent a couple times over 100 emails trying to arrange matches. That's just crazy. Let's stop doing that as much as possible.
I think
Sorry,
it's a good
I got
idea
my
because we have
scheduling point of view, but let's go back to PTI and any questions anybody has.
I think it's good not to have too many makeups because then you'll throw in guys with PTIs that are too high for lower positions.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. You know, I think, you know, and if you know, that could be a situation where because you have to reschedule, that could be a reason why someone's PTI of a team is higher or lower, depends on how you look at it, than another team. So, you know, I think that's really up to you guys, the captains, to communicate that to other people. But I mean, the first instance, let's just try and play all our matches at the time they're scheduled.
Hey, Rob, this is Mark Birch from Brookside. Just a couple of questions on the scheduling.
Yep.
What you just said suggested that everybody just do their best, which I am very much in favor of, and trying to play on the date. But your note suggested there were actually going to be some rules around that for that you had to play by Friday either way. Are those rules actually going to be rules, or is it just do your best?
Those are definitely rules. That's similar to what we had in the past. We had some flexibility in those, but you know, the Paddle Pro system shut off, and we're going to do the same thing with our website going forward. That if you're supposed to play on Saturday, you have to that Friday to get that match in. Yes, that is definitely going to be the case. Okay. It's in between that period of time where people were manipulating things a lot that I was referring to. And if you have a rain delay, then you play the I think I said the following Wednesday to get the match in.
And just related to that, maybe more a suggestion or a request related to all the scheduling stuff. We seem to come across every year at least one or two captains, maybe they're newer to the whole thing, that ask for post plays, and then and when they're the home team, and then insist that you still travel to their site, and you explain to them the custom in the league, but because they're new, they refuse, and it turns into a battle and emails. And the league position has always been, well, you guys figure it out. It's just a custom. Yes, they should do it, but they don't have to do it. Just a request that that's something, at least reiterate when a note goes out to everybody that is the custom, and you really should do the right thing, because every year we seem to come across guys that refuse.
Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt. I mean, maybe we should make it a rule, Mark.
I think we should, but at least it should be.
I think it should be a rule, and I think we'll talk about that as a board to change that. But there's no question, the custom is if you're the home team and you can't travel, and then the other team can travel to you on the Monday night or Tuesday night, that if you ask them to post play, there is no question you have to travel. So
I don't think we've gotten through a season in the last 10 years where at least one captain has not lived up to that custom.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in the board about putting that in the rules. I just updated the rules the other day. I have no problem. I just want to talk about it with other people if we want to make that a firm rule. But to me, that's what really should happen. And if you're not doing that, then that's not the spirit of our league.
Well, great, thanks.
Thanks for that idea. No questions on PTI?
Hi, this is Don Simone from Birds, and I've got one. So there's a couple of guys that I see whose PTI it doesn't really match the level that they're playing at. What do you want us to do about it?
Well, I guess we just need to talk, we can talk specifics about that. I think we would look at the match history of the person. I mean, if they only have 10 matches in the system, then it's too new to determine, if their PTI is correct or not. If there's 40 or 50 matches in there, then I think they're, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, if there's 50 matches in there, then that's their PTI, and that's correct.
But Rob, it's Bill Haynes. I mean, based on the way our league works and the movement, those people will be playing in whatever league is appropriate for them this year based upon their historical team performance, right?
Yes. Yeah, you're based. I'm sorry, Bill, I'm not sure what the question is, but yeah, I mean, you're based. I mean, you could have, be a great player, a nationally ranked player, and playing in the E League. I'm not sure if that's what you mean.
I'm just saying, terms of competition, right? So people are playing in the right level of competition based upon our league movement, right?
Right.
So it's not like there's an unfair situation being created because the fact that their PTI may not reflect exactly who they are. I mean, you have like guys from North Jersey, right? The plays in the G League.
Right. I think you're right, Bill. I mean, I think where you're going there is right. I mean, you're in the, and if you're in the E League, you know, more or less, you're going to be playing people at your same level, whether or not your PTI is different. I think what Don may have gone, not to speak for Don, he might have been thinking outside of our league for tournaments or other things.
Well, since we want to kind of base our 1 through 4 lineups on PTI, if I've got a guy or two whose score just isn't even close by over 10 points or 20 points, is this something you just tell the other captain, well, I don't think the rating's right, or do we want to address that before the season starts?
I would like. I see me wanting to talk there, but let me just jump in first. If you think someone's rating is wrong by 10 points, definitely reach out to us. I mean, I'd be shocked by that. But yeah, one of the reasons we're starting so early is because of things like that. I know that the data is not 100% correct in there, but I'd be shocked if anyone's ratings are off by 10 points. Probably, I don't know, even probably 7.5 points. I mean, any comments on that?
Yeah. So, and this is something maybe that your board will take up, but so most leagues which have implemented this will have a 3-person committee, PTI committee, where captains can, just the exact example Don's talking about, like that's the outlet for people to say, hey, I think this person's rating is wrong, this is why. And then the PTI committee can go look at that person's history, show you that person's entire history. And if it's off, then maybe a start rating might need to be changed, or but if they don't feel it's off, they can show you why it's not off, and give you the data behind that, which you can't, the back end can't see yet, which is what Rob was asking when we'll be able to see that. That'll be October. But typically, if you have those kind of problems, I'd be really, really surprised, as Rob said, if something's off between 10 and 20 points. 5 points maybe, but given how much history you have, it would be unlikely. Now, that's not to say, again, some of the data that came in from the old site was a little off. There's been a ton of cleanup, but yeah, I would say, send it to Rob's PTI committee, whoever that is, let them look at it. But that should be the outlet for it.
Hey,
yeah.
Rob. Hey,
yeah.
Rob. Oh, Christ. Now the dog's. I'll stop my question. Aren't we're talking about oh, shut up. Don't worry about it.
We're all used to this. This is our life for the last couple months.
My question was going to be that.
Rob, I have a question.
Oh, hold on. I think someone else was going.
Yeah, it's George Foote at Florham Park. We have a guy who hasn't played in 3 years because of injuries, and his PPI is probably 10 points off.
Yeah.
So what's the process?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good example, George. That's, if someone was playing at a good level 3 years ago, but hasn't touched the paddle in 3 years, obviously their level has changed. I mean, I'm sure, like golf, you can, you have a handicap for a medical reason, you can adjust it accordingly. Is that something that you guys have looked at in the past?
So that's where you would change someone's confidence factor. So right. If someone hasn't played in 3 years, they're coming back, they're not going to be the same player. You would reset their confidence factor so that their rating would adjust to the correct place quickly without impacting the other 3 people on the court. That's like the perfect example for an adjustment of a confidence factor as opposed to an initial start rating.
So do you want to, I don't know if you want to explain the confidence factor. I mean, if we change the rating of that, what's the difference between that and someone's rating?
If you change someone's initial start rating, that goes back and recalculates every match they've ever played. And you wouldn't want to do that for someone who, had an accurate rating until they got injured. But if you had a very accurate rating and then they didn't play for 3 years and then they came back, that's where you would want to change someone's confidence factor. And that allows you basically to essentially, adjust that person quickly to the right level without impacting the other 3 people on the court. And I was going to say, Rob, I'll share, and I may have already shared this with you, but it might be worth sending out to this entire captain's list. We did a recording of a Zoom call where we walked through in detail how ratings change and match by match examples with specific people, and it might be worth sending out to this group. You can watch it at when you have the time to do it, but it should be very helpful for anyone who really wants to dig in deep on how this stuff works.
Yeah, I mean, we could send it out and people want to watch it. That'd be great. And there's a lot of math that goes into to people's ratings.
I'm trying to get. I apologize. We're talking about individual ratings in a team sport. Aren't we talking about an aggregated score? If a 50 plays with a 25, how do we rate that team?
As a 75.
Yeah, so it's the aggregate score of the team. So when I talked before, just to clarify thing, when I talked before about these tournaments of, 10 to 15 or 20 to 30 PTI rankings, that's for the individual. When we're for those type of tournaments, but for it's a team aggregate rating here that we'll use for our league. So it's the combined rating of the two players. So in Mike's example of 15 and 25, that's a combined 75. Was that your question, Mike?
Yeah. We were focusing. The conversation seems to be focused on individual players, but really it's about the how we match up as teams, right? So that's what I was clarifying.
Yeah,
maybe you talked about that earlier, but I didn't hear it. Yeah,
no, we didn't, Mike. But that's a good point. I mean, there is a lot of chemistry that happens on teams, and that's why we're using that. We're using the PTI as a rule, as a guide, not a rule. In addition to the variance. The mathematical variance that is factored into the numbers. I mean,
okay, so Rob, I'm sorry to interrupt, but so the process is to send you an email and tell you who it is and why we think the score is wrong, or I guess from this side of the bleachers, right? What do you want us to do when we think something's wrong?
Right now, tell me. We have to put together. We have a couple guys doing that are going to be responsible for PTI going forward. But it's still all new to all of us. So before I put those guys right in the fire, I want to go through me first, and then I'll get those guys involved, and we'll get them more up to speed on PTI, and then I'll slowly make sure those guys do it.
Great, thank you.
Rob, Victor Del Rio from EMC. So Rob, we are in the K League, and I guess the rule is when you add a new team, you have to start at the bottom.
Correct.
I have no problem with that, but I know that last year some teams got very frustrated that, hey, we're playing literally 20-minute matches, 15-minute matches, driving an hour and a half, which is, again, okay on our end. But now they're going to add up the scores of this PTI and see they're going to get nuked possibly.
Yeah.
Are we making any adjustments to that, or are we staying the same?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I wish I had a good answer for that. And I think Fairmont, I think, is probably the club you're talking about. I mean, they have a lot of good players. They have a bunch of new teams there, and they start at the bottom. I'd love to figure out a way. If anyone has any ideas on how to do it, we'd be all ears.
Yeah. So, for example, Rob, we have a team that just got moved up to B. Of course, we got all these college kids that came in to play for EFC.
Yeah, a lot of good players.
And now we're going to have legitimate BC MIPL players playing in K paddle.
Yeah.
So I don't know the answer if anybody has any ideas.
So the problem, just to make sure everyone's aware of this, so the problem is in the past we've added new teams who just put at the bottom and they had to work their way up, but now it's some of these new teams are joining like Fairmont and Englewood are coming in with strong teams, and it's 6-0, 6-0, and the match is over in 20 minutes. The problem is to move you guys up, or like Blake Anderson's team up from Fairmont, move them up to B or C where they belong. What do we do about the teams that were in B and C beforehand? Do we, let's say they came in the middle of the pack. Do we say, hey, you guys are moving down to D or E or wherever, and then move everyone else down one because of this team jumping in? I mean, that's not fair to those teams either. When the past we've had, years ago, what was it? Everyone went to center court. One team just moved over in their entirety to center court. So that was easy. We just changed the name. So that was easy. But when you have, a mixture of different guys coming from, using Fairmont's example, from 3 different clubs and all go to one club, we can't we couldn't figure out how to. I can't figure out how to do that without, moving down other teams that thought, based on the rules, that they could move down. Or wouldn't
What
have moved
about
down.
in this year's situation where teams might be dropping out because of inability to have courts or inability to field a team where you might be able to slide somebody in that situation?
Good point. I mean, I'll get to you in a second. You know what? We've actually added a bunch of teams this year. And I've not heard from any club. I assume they would tell me. I've not heard from any club that says they are not allowing play this year. Everyone's all in. And, from example, my club, Morris County, we added a team because we have so many. Everyone said, hey, we're not traveling this year. Let's add another team. So I wish there was that opportunity to create a slot and move people up because, I wouldn't want to drive an hour and get my ass kicked in 20 minutes by someone. And I know it's frustrating. We just don't have a solution for it. I mean,
Rob, I have a question on that. If a club has this is George Foote at Florham Park again. If a club has multiple teams and adds a team that goes to K, shouldn't their weakest players be on that team?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's one long team. So if you have 4 teams, your number one guy should be playing your top team, and your last guy should be playing on your bottom team. So you have to look at it as one long team. So if that guy you're referring to, George, was in, I don't know, M or not M, like D beforehand, but you added a bunch of new players, that guy's got to go down to K. You need to have your team based on the strength of the PTI. I mean, jump in, please.
Yeah, so Rob, because you guys have so much history now, both from the MIPL League and from your league, if a new team gets created with people who have actually played matches before and they all have PTIs, we have a division placement subcommittee on our board. So for the beginning of a new season, if a new team gets created, we know what the roster looks like, we will place them in the appropriate division. And it does mean we have to potentially move a team that another team has to slide down. But we've decided instead of starting a team at the bottom and having just run through divisions, we're going to put them in the proper spot. It's just something to think of. Chicago does something similar.
So, I mean, what would you guys think of that? If you thought you were staying in your, the D League, but we decided to move somebody in there and you had to move down to E, I'd be interested in feedback from captains on their response to that.
Yeah, it's Mark Lurchin from Brookside. I don't know if I speak on behalf of our whole club, but I think what Amin described is perfect.
Yeah.
I think that makes all the sense. You have all this information, why not use it? And you have a rational explanation that you can give to people. And it is what it is. And it's a much lesser evil in my view.
Yeah. And, that team that goes from D to E, then that team that was supposed to be in E, now they go to F and it goes all the way down. So it's a serious.
Rob, to me, it's one long, just like you described, each location's team is one long team. The league is one long league. And so if Haworth or whomever comes in and forms a team of qualified players, I agree that they should be placed where they're going to be competitive. Maybe a league lower than you think they might be competitive, so they have to work up a little bit and you don't piss everybody off. But, it makes no sense to start them down at K or L or however many you have now.
Even M now. Yeah.
And they play almost, 3 hours of matches across the season and just whip everybody. That's no fun for either team.
And then you just amend the rules to say this is the movement, but there's this other factor so people know that it's not 100% guaranteed. There's still a committee and there's going to be new teams coming in. There's also teams that leave, by the way, that you have to make similar adjustments, right? So
not many teams are left. Yeah, we
not many, but there's always that. And you may have that next year if we have extra teams this year, but then guys start traveling. Hopefully the world gets back. So there's always that kind of thing going on. Better to do something where people are all playing competitively. But there's always going to be somebody who's unhappy. It's a question of which one you prefer.
Yeah, I know. All right, that's a good topic. Let me table that, and we could discuss it. We'll discuss it with the rest of the guys at the board. I mean, we still have time this year to do that type of thing. I'm sure Andrew and Dennis, who do the schedule, are yelling at me for saying that. But I know, I know the guys at Fairmount, living in Chatham. I know the guys at Fairmount well, and I know it's kind of a joke for them. They were, done with matches in, 7 minutes type of stuff. So I get it. I just was so conscious of teams that earn their way to stay in and then be told they're moving down.
Rob, my only final Victor Del Rio again. My only final point on that is that in the solution we were using last year, you had that wide disparity. In this other one, that person that moves from D to E isn't going to be playing in a 20-minute match, 15-minute match. But these people that are entering at L are going to be playing 20-minute matches. And as adults realizing what this means to us, I would imagine most people would say, I'm okay with that if I have some sort of competitive match.
Yeah. No,
the other way eliminates competitive matches.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Okay, let's think about that some more as on the board. Hey, Paul, just out of curiosity, I'm sorry, I keep on trying to table it, but what do you guys, Paul, what do you guys do in your league? Do you do something, what we do, or do you do what Amin does?
Well, last year we had
I'm sorry
two
to
teams.
interrupt. Paul runs the Northern Jersey Sunday League.
I'm the secretary. Bill Brightly is actually the president.
You really
run it. Thank you. Last year we had two teams come in that had just formed, and both of them were placed in higher divisions than the bottom. And one, Mark will tell you, kicked Mark's butt and should have been in a division higher.
They did well. No, they did well and was competitive. That was Hallworth, correct, Paul?
Yeah, Hallworth came in as C, and they're in B this year.
Should have been a B. Yep.
But I still think, entering a team like that, a division below kind of where you think they're going to wind up is not objectionable. They're going to get pretty good matches there. And that's what a placement committee like Amin was describing comes into bear.
Okay, thanks. Back to PTI, were there any other questions on that? No? Okay, that's pretty much all I had. We will send out to people, we were calling the cheat sheets on how to register and how to do a whole bunch of other stuff. I'll send the cheat sheets after this call. And, give us your feedback once you start looking at the website. Let us know if there's any issues on registering. We hope it's as straightforward as we've all done it on the board. Hopefully there were no issues. Hopefully there's continue to be no issues. Let us know about those ratings that you think are 10, anything greater than 10 points or anything greater than 7.5 points. Let me know, and then we'll take it from there. George, if you can let me know the name of that person that if injury or anyone else coming off injury that hasn't played in a couple of years, we can amend their confidence factor accordingly. We're here. Keep on reaching out to us with your comments.
Hey, Rob, again, Bill Haynes, again, the faster people can get their teams registered, the more the captains will be able to do. So it's really imperative, I think, that we try to follow up on this as quickly as possible with our players.
Yeah, I can't see why people can't do this right away. I mean, we got actually. That's pretty good. The numbers doubled since we've been on this call. We had 17 more or less doubled. We had 17 on when we started this call, and I just refreshed my page. We have 32 now. So it's pretty good. So hopefully that continues. Once you guys as captains, please get the word out. Just forward them my emails or cut and paste, whatever you have to do. Get people to start registering, and it's going to make everybody's lives a lot easier.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Rob, I got one more thing I'm observing here real time as what's been happening the last couple hours. I see captains signing up, and I see them changing the captains that were in the system. So
that was me.
That was you. Okay, because I'm getting emails on all of the changes. So
yeah, that's me. Sorry.
One of the things that, and we're still learning this in real time. I apologize, but it seems to me that captains can go within their clubs and have discretion across all of the teams within that club, right? I mean, so if there's 5 or maybe with co-captains, maybe 10 captains across 5 teams, they have captain rights across the whole club. So as captains, you guys need to organize amongst yourselves so that you're not fighting and making changes in the system that would screw up the other teams.
But a person can be on more than one roster within a club.
So right, but the captains can also make themselves captains of any teams.
Oh, right. Yeah, we set that up to make it easier to make everyone captains. We can undo that once everyone's registered.
Right. So again, back to my original point, you and your co-captains across the other teams within your club need to kind of organize and make sure you're not stepping on each other's toes to make changes. And like we said, the players aren't hardwired to a specific team, so you can move and trade amongst the teams as needed in the schedules and PTI ability. So that's kind of on you guys to work out.
I'm sorry, you may have mentioned this already, but when will the captain login information go out?
I mean, you can go register right now as a player. Andrew, can you just clarify the captain login? I think
sure.
You do that.
Yeah. So I think I confirmed this with Amin yesterday or the day before. I think the way it works is that all of the captains need to register first, and then once they're registered in the system, I can set you as a captain, give you that sort of higher level of access to the system, and then you go in and request your credentials, and it'll give you the rights to change your login so you can have admin access as a captain to the system. So it's kind of a three-step process. You register first, I set you up with captain credentials, and then you log in. Then you request your credentials. Is that right, Amin?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Just thank you. Anything else? I'm happy to.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Justin. Just on some protocol. With this process, should we now be giving our opponents our lineups in advance?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I mean, we can do that. You can do that. You can populate your lineup beforehand, but I'm too competitive to let the guys know who they're playing against.
And by the way, if you populate your lineup in the site, your opponents will not be able to see it until after the match time starts.
Oh, really? Oh, after the match time starts, so you put in there. I mean, so if you're playing at 8 o'clock, you put in there at 8 o'clock. If you end up playing at 8:30, they'll be able to see it.
Yeah. Once the official match time starts, then the lineups become available to both the opposing captains.
Interesting.
So
what if you play
5 minutes late?
Courts 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4?
Yeah.
If staggered starts, what happens then? I mean,
well,
you just let's just don't populate the names. Do it after the match.
It's going to be tough if courts 1 and 2 are already set. It's going to be hard to come around with 3 and 4, right? I would imagine. But yes, once you get to the match time, if someone wants to take the time to go in and look at what everyone's lineup is, then you could do it.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's new. So we put in on the site. We put in what time we're playing.
Well, when you make the schedule for the season, and you put in the date and you put in the time you put in a date and a time for all the matches.
All right. Well, that's going to change every guy. This is where we're much different than all the other leagues around the country where they play Thursday night 8 o'clock period. We're whatever time.
If you don't want anyone to see a time, like I see it, you can put the time in at 10 p.m. and then no one would see it till 10. So you can make the time on the site whatever time you want.
All right. Okay. Andrew, we can talk about that later. But you don't, there's no requirement to show your lineup to someone beforehand. The only thing I would say, like I talked about before with PTI, if you have a team with a different PTI, better or worse, how you want to look at it, than another team, just communicate that first. I was on a call during the summer with the APTA organized, and I made the comment that everyone was talking about all these rules they had. It was unbelievable, and I said we have one rule in New Jersey: don't be an asshole. I got a little heat for that. I got a lot of rolling of eyes, but it's true. Don't be that guy. Come on, we're here to have fun. It's 9 paddle matches. Let's treat everyone the way we want to be treated. Anything else? All right, everybody, thanks so much. I really appreciate you guys being captains, getting all my emails, answering the questions, and doing all the work you guys do. So really appreciate it. And don't hesitate to reach out to anybody on the board. Our information is on the website. Don't hesitate to reach out. Talk to everybody soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob. Well done.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you.